Welcome into a bonus episode here on Hockey Inside Out. Jussi Ylönen, his play of late, what do you think about that, guys? And does he have a future with the Montreal Canadiens beyond this season?
Well, he's going to decide that himself. I mean, what a wonderful opportunity for him and so many other players because of all the injuries, getting a chance to play regularly in the NHL and not just in a fourth line role, playing different line mates, different lines. He's 23 years old, second round pick in 2018. You can see the skills there, but he's sort of been like, one of those guys that, you hope for his case. It's not one of those things. And 3 years ago, you go, remember when Jussi Ylönen played for the Canadiens? You go, yes, sort of, but yeah. He's got 23 games for the Canadiens. He's got 2 goals. You compare him with Raphael Harvey-Pinard and the impact he's had with the same opportunity since he got called up from Laval. It's night and day, right? There's one guy who's looks like he's doing everything he possibly can to stay in the NHL. Ylönen still looks a little hesitant, a little timid, maybe like he's still not comfortable. But he's got 18 more games, after the Carolina game to prove that he does deserve a spot next year. The fact he was a second round pick gives him a little bit more of a hope maybe, but he also wasn't the second round pick by this GM. And that's one of the things with Kent Hughes. It's easier for him to discard former draft picks that he didn't make because it wasn't his choice. So this is a great opportunity for him. So far, to me, he's had 2 goals in 23 games. You see the skill, he's been okay, but he hasn't done anything for me personally to make me go, okay, this guy definitely has a spot on this team next season, whereas Raphael Harvey-Pinard has.
Yeah, he kind of leads the who was that sweepstakes when, once or twice a game, he'll all of a sudden do something that I find really impressive. And because they've got so many call-ups, I'm constantly going to my rosters to find out who number 107 is. But that then, like last night, I was specifically meant to keep an eye out, and I didn't notice the guy all night long. So. Yeah, and I don't think Harvey-Pinard has had a shift all year when you haven't noticed him. Maybe nothing comes of it, but you always see the guy because he's just driving. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of sport, It's not a sport where you can hang back and be tentative and make something happen. Jonathan Drouin's been doing that for 6 years, and I always think that's what's wrong with his game, although it's picked up lately. It's that just tentative approach, like you're walking on ice, which is what he's doing, but you have to do it a different way.
I think I would agree about Ylönen for the first stretch where he was called up here, but the last couple of weeks, I think he's taken a step. I've liked his play on this top line. I feel like him and Harvey-Pinard have some built-in chemistry from playing together in Laval. You can see that. He's made some nice passes. He's finally scoring a couple goals here and there. I think the confidence is definitely something that you can see now in his play. I do think it's kind of weird, but Harvey-Pinard came in on the fourth line with Belzile, right? And you think the fourth line's a hard place to break out, but him and Belzile played so well together, and Belzile's continued to play so well, as has Harvey-Pinard. That's kind of been like the ideal place on this lineup is either the first line or the fourth line. And in between that, it's kind of a mess, right? It's just like a bunch of square pegs and round holes. And I think he's played a lot with Christian Dvorak, and I think we probably all agree that Christian Dvorak is not making anybody better right now. I think he's just a guy who's skating around, does something decent once in a while, but he doesn't make his line mates better. He's consistently been just there for the last 2 years now, and Jonathan Drouin's playing the other center spot with Kirby Dach out, and I think Drouin's playing pretty well overall. He's actually leading the Canadiens in points per 60 since January, or since the beginning of January. So that's interesting, but he's not a center. So it's, I think, tough to break out in that middle area of the Canadiens lineup. Now that Ylönen's getting a little bit of more of an opportunity with Suzuki and Harvey-Pinard, there'll be a little bit more close eyes on him. But he had a couple of plays in the last game that really stood out to me. The biggest one was there was a mistake. I didn't catch who made the mistake on the Canadiens' first power play of the game against Carolina, but it created a 2-on-1 breakaway for the Carolina Hurricanes. And Ylönen basically stopped it with an incredible back check where he reached around the attacking puck carrier and just poked the puck off his stick, caught him, I guess, was faster than him and worked really hard to get that. So those kinds of plays where you're making an impact on both ends of the ice, I think, are where Ylönen will stick out. I don't know if he has a long-term future with the team, but he's still producing about a half point per game, and that's for the most part not playing that well. So I could see him sticking around in the middle section of the Canadiens lineup as, at the very least, like a transitionary player.
It's interesting when you mentioned Dvorak doesn't make anybody with him better, because you look back and Marc Bergevin seemed to think that Dvorak was a better centerman to keep than Phillip Danault, which when they let Phillip Danault go, Phillip Danault made everybody he played with better. And when they let Phillip Danault go, they didn't just lose Phillip Danault, they lost Brendan Gallagher, because Brendan Gallagher has never been the same player since Phillip Danault left. You remember that line with Danault between Gallagher and Tatar? That was one of the best 5-on-5 lines in the NHL. And I said it when Phillip Danault was here, and I'll keep saying it. He was one of the most underrated players to play for the Canadiens. And the fact that a team that is so focused at having French-Canadian talent on the team, they let their best French-Canadian player go.
Well, not only that, though, right, with Danault, you think about the fact that he was a guy that did so much, as I said before, Stu, that he was the guts of this team that no one talked about. But for this situation right now, for what we have for this young Finn, guys, these final 18 games could have make or break his tenure with the Montreal Canadiens moving towards the summer months.
It'll make or break maybe whether he gets a good look to start next season with the team, because like whatever he does in preseason next year won't matter as much as what they've seen from him playing against NHL competition this season. This is already training camp for him for next year. And to me, like I said, Harvey Pinard's shown that he deserves a spot. And Alex Belzile, I mean, at 31 years old, I don't expect him to be here next season, but he's shown more that he might deserve a spot to play here next season too.
Yeah, I really hope that Belzile, if it's not in Montreal, has a spot in the NHL. I think that it's just too good of a story for him to go back to being a full-time AHLer. He's been too good. I really, really hope this guy gets his chance to be an NHL player, even if it's just a fourth liner.
Same here. I would be so much happier seeing, just speaking generically, I'd be so much happier to see all these guys here next year, and guys like Dvorak, Hoffman, maybe just forget about it. Even if you have to park $10 million in the press box, they're just out there doing nothing. Dvorak's the only guy I know who can look totally disinterested while he's taking a penalty shot in a shootout. He just does not look involved to me. He looks like he's just counting the money and waiting until he gets traded to some place that interests him. I don't know what it is, but I'd just be happier. Let the guys play who are going to give you some energy and some effort.
Well, we talk about Belzile and Harvey Pinard and that, and sort of working hard. And I'm not saying Ylönen doesn't work hard, but working hard means different things to different players, or is defined differently. Like the really skilled guys, when they were young guys coming up, never really had to work all that hard to be the best player. They're just so talented, like Jonathan Drouin. I think Jonathan Drouin believes he's really working hard for him, but he was so good as a kid, it just came naturally. And it's hard to really, like, his idea of working hard is not the same as Brendan Gallagher's idea of working hard, or Harvey Pinard's definition of working hard, or Belzile, or all these guys who had to fight and clutch and grab for everything they've gotten or any opportunity they had. So their idea, their vision of working hard is here. And some of the most talented guys, it might be down here. I mean, you look back at Mario Lemieux, one of the best hockey players who ever lived. He wasn't the hardest working guy out there, especially as he had back problems. He was so talented and skilled, you get away with it. But when you get a player who's incredibly talented and his work level is off the chart, you get Sidney Crosby. All
right, St. Louis, he knows what that's like, because he had to work bust as a butt to get even attention. And here's one of the best players in National Hockey League history, finally, but nobody believed in him. And there were so many times the Habs could have pounced and gotten that guy and didn't, until they got him as a coach. And he brings the same thing as a coach. That's why Gretzky, to me, was a failure as a coach, because he never had to bust. He never had to really pay attention to the game, because it all came so easily to him. I can remember nights in the press box watching Mario Lemieux when that guy just sleptwalked through the entire game, finished with a goal and 3 assists.
Exactly.
How the hell did that happen?
And the thing with St. Louis, like, I think he sees a bit of himself in these guys too. Like, you work hard, he gives you a chance, because he's a guy who needed somebody to give him a chance. And he's giving guys chances, and they're responding.
Well, I'll say this right now. Phil Danault, He wakes up to beautiful California skies, unlike us in Montreal.
He's a
So I
happy
think he's
guy
having
right
it
now.
nice in LA. And we'll find out for these young guys what they'll do in the next 18 games if they can stick around for the big club for next season. Well, don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube page and check out all of the Hockey Inside Out episodes over there. And send us your questions or comments. We look forward to conversing about that on a future episode. And sign up for the newsletter at MontrealGazette.com/newsletters. For full episodes and bonus content, head on by Hockey Inside Out. On behalf of Andrew, Jack, and Stu, wish you a great week. We'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.